Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Andrew Ruffin, and today I'm here with author Steven Hullinger. How you doing, Steven?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being with me today. Steven, let's get started with you telling us a little bit about your personal background.
Well, my personal background, as far as writing, anything else, I started when I was actually a real little kid. I always had a fascination with like monsters and ghosts, that kind of thing. So I would write these little stories down in my free time. None of them was very good, to be honest with you, but my mother used to go to parent teacher conferences and the teachers would show them these stories and be like, I'm really concerned about your son. And I would even have little illustrations on them. And my mom knew that that was just me expressing myself. Um, Fast forward, I would write little stories, but I would never show anybody. We're our biggest critic.
Uh-huh.
And then this past November, I thought, why not try it? So I started writing, and one of my coworkers was taking a course on editing. And she said, if I talk to my professor, would we be able to use you as a client? Okay, no problem. So I sent my work in and I got really positive reviews from everybody saying, hey, this is really good. The way you set up the environment and the characters, everything is just spot on. It's really great.
Mhm.
So I figured, why not try to publish it and bring my work out to the masses?
Wow, okay, that's very interesting. So the book that we're here to talk about today is The Many Forms of Fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really curious, what inspired you to write The Many Forms of Fear?
When I was a kid, I always, back when I was a kid, this kind of shows my age. Cable was about 24 channels. And so you didn't have a lot of options. And I remember one of the things that I loved was this TV show known as Monster Vision.
Okay.
And back when I watched it, it was an all night horror movie marathon. And it was a lot of classic movies. So you would have all of your typical genre monsters, your giant monsters, your vampires, your werewolves, anything like that.
Mhm.
And that was my main inspiration behind the many forms of fear. Um, I just kind of took what I thought or what I remembered as a kid and turned those into stories. And actually, there's a couple of them that I actually had nightmares about. And some people don't like nightmares. I'm unusual. I love them because it inspires new story ideas. Usually, when I wake up from them, I instantly start typing on my phone the whole basis of it, and then I'll turn that into a story.
Wow. Okay. So you start typing on your phone. After that, what does your writing process normally look like? Do you have days and times where you write, or are you kind of one of those people who only write when you feel like you have something specific to say?
Um, it can be random times during the day. I'll be thinking about what I could put into my next section of my story, and then something will come up and it'll be ingrained in my brain. And then as soon as I get off work, I've got to get it in.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about the book specifically? What can readers expect to find when they read this book?
So the book itself, it has three different stories, and each one covers a different kind of monster. The first one, I thought I'd put my own form of humor into it as well. And it's the first in a series I'm going to write known as the Detective Jack Martin story, where
Okay.
he's now a detective, but a former demonologist. And in that story, he's actually visited by a, let's say, the right hand man of the devil himself, who is very angered that Jack has basically sent back so many of his minions, and now he's targeting Jack himself. So
Okay.
there's your first monster, is the demons. The second one is called Stay on the Path, which has to do with a backwoods family that everybody avoids. And if you get off the path, you will find yourself the victim, and they are actually cannibals.
Wow.
So that's one I actually had a nightmare about, where I was being chased by this family. And so I had to write that down. And the third one is known as The Herd. And in this one, it is a safari hunt gone wrong, let's just say, where they are now, they went from the hunters to being the hunted by a herd of hippos.
Wow. Okay.
So
Wow. Well, I can't wait to read it myself. When you write books, do you include characters that remind you of yourself, or are these all just completely made up in your head?
these are completely made up in my head, 100%. Um, if they get to be a little bit too close to somebody, that was unintentional, but 100% in my head.
Okay. So, what is the most rewarding part of completing a book for you?
For the many forms of fear, the first, the most, the best feeling was just feeling it in my hands,
Mm.
seeing it. And then I've had photos of people holding my book, and the positive reviews they've given has just been so inspiring.
Yeah. Okay.
It just keeps me wanting to go.
Right. Definitely. Now, are there any challenges to being a writer? Have you ran into any unexpected challenges?
Yeah, there's definitely the writer's block. You know, you
Mm.
might think you've got a really good thing coming on, and then you just come across a crossroads where like, I don't know what I'm going to do here,
Hmm.
Um, but eventually you come over that curve. With me, it's a lot of freestyle writing. So a lot of times I'll just start writing, and maybe I'll start off with like the scenery or something like that,
Hmm.
the environment. And then as I'm doing that, little by little, the new ideas start to form.
Okay, those are great tips for getting over writer's block. Now, do you normally, like some authors, immediately start writing something new, or do you kind of take a little time in between writing two different books?
I never stop. I'm immediately going to the very next story.
Okay. Well, speaking of next story, I know that you have actually got a few books coming out around this time. So can you tell us about your others?
Yes, the second book I actually have released now on Amazon. It's known as Timberwolves. It's about a character named Jerry Mad Dog Garvin, and he was the heir apparent to be the leader of a renegade biker gang known as the Timberwolves. But long story short, he was betrayed by one of them and had to actually testify against the band that he once known as his brothers. Enters the police witness protection program. 10 years later, the Timberwolves are released, and they still remember him and what he did and are now targeting him. So
Wow.
it's a fight for survival. More action adventure or action thriller than horror.
Okay. Okay.
And then there is another book known as Bless the Little Children, which is scheduled to be released June 7th. And it is about the 1940s German, let's say it's from the perspective of the Germans during World War II.
Okay.
It's about a man named Hans Fritz, who was once known as the bloodthirster for his brutal methods of torture during the First World War. And he has a lot of regrets over that.
Mhm.
So, to try to make amends for that, he opens a children's home for orphan children and tries to give them the best chance possible. Well, they get a new tenant by the name of Maxwell Grugenstein, who has a special gift of clairvoyance, and he can see into everyone's past, including the bloodthirsters.
Mhm.
And the German army actually comes and tries to re-enlist Hans Fritz to train a new breed of soldier in the method of torture. And he's given an ultimatum where it's either you comply with us or everyone dies, and we shoot the kids in front of you.
Wow.
And for Hans, it actually becomes either I will comply with them or I teach my own soldier, which will be the children, in that method and fight back. And
Mhm.
so it's really neat. It's a really cool concept that I just thought of one day and I was like, man, that would be such a good story.
Wow. These all sound very interesting. Now, do you have any interest or aspirations of turning any of these books into something else like a television show or a movie, for example?
Oh, absolutely. If the right time came and somebody came interested with it, absolutely. That
Okay.
would be amazing to see on the silver screen.
Yeah, they sound like something I would want to go watch as well. So,
Oh yeah.
now for someone who's watching this and they are an aspiring writer, they want to be where you are and do what you're doing, what advice do you have for them?
Never stop. You might feel down on yourself. Like I said, you're your biggest critic, but just keep going. Get your work out there because I guarantee you're going to get a lot more positive feedback than negative,
Mhm.
and it's going to inspire you to keep going.
Okay, very good advice. Stephen, if you were not writing, what would you be doing?
If I was not writing, I really don't know what I would be doing. To be honest with you, that's a loaded question in itself. Um, there's so many things that I would like to be doing. Um, I'm not trying to play the whole poor me game, but I have some health problems, so it kind of keeps me down. And
Mhm.
so that's why writing gives me such energy. I'm able to create this own world. I'm able to do things in this world that I'm not able to do here in the real world.
Right.
And so if I wasn't writing, I would probably be playing video games, watching TV, doing the things that I normally do.
Stephen, thank you again for being here with me today. If anybody's interested in checking out Stephen's work, you can click on the links below. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for watching, and as always, remember to subscribe, like, and comment, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.